Welcome to Awesome Earthkind. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you today?
Excellent, excellent. If you would tell us who you are, where you live, what kind of work you do.
My name is Adam Huss. I am down in beautiful South Florida, especially this time of year where it's nice outside and 50 degrees. And I'm the VP of Innovation over at Smog Armor.
Awesome. And why don't you share one thing about yourself that most people wouldn't know, Adam?
Sure. I guess most people these days. I was actually a touring musician for 5.5 years, so there is something that not too many know about me. Or I'll give you the other side fun fact. Based on a donation made to grab a plot of land over in Scotland as an environmental protection act. I have been given a certificate to make myself an official lord. So technically, my title is Lord Adam Huss.
Lord Adam, how cool is that, man? Yes, we'll bow to you, sir. All right, Lord Adam, give us we call it a quantum quote, an inspirational quote that takes people to the next level about some topic. If you have one that you might want to share.
Oh man. Uh I mean, my childhood nerdiness, I guess, will catch up with me on this one, and I'll go with an easy classic, and that is do or do not, there is no try.
Ah, do or do not. There is no try. Is that a childhood one? I thought that was a
That,
Yoda one.
that
So,
would that, but that would be from my childhood.
oh, okay. There we go. Well, we're all children at heart, but I love that quote, man. That is an awesome quote. I give that to my kids and grandkids all the time. So, definitely a wonderful thing. Do or do not, but there is no try. Outstanding. Thank you, sir. All right. So, tell us about your current job and why you went into it, man. Why'd you go into sustainable paints?
Well, so I guess since you said it that way, I guess I'll segue with this. While sustainable paint and I guess I'm sure we'll get into that in the coming hour or what have you, is not really like what we do. So what we consider ourselves is we're actually a carbon tech company. While the paint is the flagship product that we have on the shelves, there's a plethora of other things that we are working on and that we've already developed that are coming to fruition already. So while yes, we are known primarily for the sustainable paint, not a paint company, so to speak, if you will. Definitely consider ourselves carbon tech, and trying to innovate and lead the way towards eco sustainability through technology that is carbon reducing or nullifying, if you will. But to circle back now, so I ended up starting with Smog Armor pretty much right as the pandemic was hitting. Actually, um, I think me and you shared this story when we originally met. So I have a great long-standing friendship and relationship with our CEO and founder Tim Sperry. Uh, Great guy, and we actually were neighbors a little over a decade ago in downtown Miami, and maintained that friendship since then. I have a long history in consumer electronics, working for a lot of Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, and decided to get out of it a couple of years ago. Was kind of just over it. Tim and I usually talk every so often, obviously a little bit more frequently when I was moving around, as his background was real estate. And so we catch up beginning of this year, and I go, oh, how's everything going with real estate with all this stuff starting to transpire with, what COVID eventually blew up and turned into. And he goes, I'll be honest. He goes, I became a self-taught chemist, completely different from anything I had talked to him about before. While Tim's always been very conscientious and earth focused, it's been more via his dietary stuff and other ideas that he had in with retreats for eco sustainability and stuff like that, but nothing that was really, I guess, putting into action, if you will. It was more just people that are trying to get in touch with Mother Earth more, so if you will. And of course, my first reaction, being the smart aleck that I am, is I've seen Breaking Bad. I've seen the 9 seasons. I'm not into this, man. that's great if you've became an amateur chemist and you're cooking up the blue meth, but I'm out. But so we had a laugh about it, and he was like, no, and what transpired was really an hour conversation where he explained to me the way that he was able to take this naturally made mineral, enhance it, and combine it to make these air purifying properties, which is what our paint came to be. Originally, actually, funny enough, this started off as a muffler tip. So it was actually going to go on automobiles. The problem is with saturation levels that come off an exhaust on a car, the absorption rate capacity hits probably around 60 days, and nobody's going to remember to change their muffler tip and drop $50 every 60 days to do so. So it's one of those things where if you look around, um it's an ease of adoption when we developed it into a paint format, because virtually every structure, home office, commercial, residential, uh, it can be anywhere. And because we were testing our carbon tech integration to prove the efficacy and the value to the marketplace for other product and DAC integrations, um, it kind of made everything make sense, and just brought everything together. And as he explained to me the way it had transpired, at that point, obviously a lot has happened in 8 9 months, what have you. But it was, or wow, even longer at this point. It's one of those things where my mouth sat slightly agape, and I was just in awe of it. And at the end of the conversation, he was like, "You look like you're in shock." I'm like, "I don't know what this is, but I have to be a part of it. Like, this is something groundbreaking and revolutionary, and this is something that it's such a clean and concise and great message behind it, where coming from I'm not going to name names and companies and all that, but coming from where I had worked in consumer electronics, while I did work for some great companies, I also worked for some very heartless corporations that I've seen them tell people and this is actually a true story, and I'm not going to get into it, but I've seen somebody whose grandparent had passed away, and the response from their superior was, "You don't have enough paid time off, so you need to sit there till 5 p.m. today, and then you can go clock out." And this is at 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, if my grandparent had passed away, I'd walk out the door, and so it's just one of those things where seeing something where there was no real mission statement and no real um, gumption behind doing something positive for other human beings and for the world in general, and then seeing what was transpiring over here just blew my mind. And I was like, I need to you need to let me jump in the pool too with you. Like, I'm all in on this.
Whoops. All right. So smog armor. So what does it do? How does it work? You gotta tell us about this carbon capture stuff, man.
Sure. So essentially, as I mentioned, we ended up taking a naturally made mineral. This is something that, unlike fossil fuels, is never going to run out. It is a mineral that is being used in other properties by other companies as well, just not in the same way that we're doing it. A perfect example is the International Space Station and their CO2 filtration system for the astronauts is actually developed by Honeywell, if I remember correctly, is actually being filtered through the same mineral, just a different type of enhancement to it, which proprietary. So sorry, can't tell you. But a different type of enhancement and a different type of way of utilizing it, but ultimately, utilizing it for the same purpose, which is that absorption and negation of carbon dioxide. Um, so what it is we were able to do our magic. Nothing was done where it wasn't injected with some crazy type of steroid type of thing like you would an athlete or anything like that. This was all done in a natural way. There is nothing that has been radioactively manipulated or anything that could be harmful to anybody's person. And then we were able to combine it with the paint, and the paint company that we teamed up with has been a high quality paint manufacturer for over 50 years. And so they and because they are in a coastal town, we were obviously it's been tested against the weather elements, wind, salt water, being blown in with that. So, the different air irregularities that come with living oceanside, and the wear and tear of it and everything. So, it's an extremely high quality paint. But then we were able to take this mineral and combine it. Now, a lot of people are like, "Oh, so you take a thimble and you drop some in there?" Yeah, no, no, no. There is a very healthy dose of our mineral that goes into all of our paints. Depending, it comes in three sizes: half gallon, gallon, and 5 gallon drums. Um, and so what it is we are able to develop a way that we basically were able to combine it and make the formula work where um, the application is clean. It's not harmful to the person painting it. Even the days of having to leave your house for 8 hours and open up all the windows, turn on all the fans, get the pets, the kids, and grandma out of the house for the entire day, and lug everybody around, that's over and done with. That's not something that really has to come to fruition anymore. And so, it's really going to be, it already is, but as more people find out about it, it's going to be that revolution, and it's going to be that cornerstone and benchmark of, setting the new standard, if you will, in an industry where, I know a lot of people grew up in the lead paint industry, and even still these days, as they see, paints hit the wall, um, you still have a majority of paints that it's like, okay, we need to air out the house, and leave for 8 hours, and I can't breathe sitting in here, and I got to wear painters masks with the special filters and all that stuff. Those days are going to be gone.
That's awesome. So this natural mineral gets combined in paints. You got all these different kinds of paints, and it takes out carbon. How much carbon does it take out of the environment?
So
And
it takes so it's put together, it's not just all right, heave hoed in into the paint. It is done through a formulaic process, so there is a great deal of science involved. But as far as the paint, as far as the actual carbon dioxide removal, basically the equivalency, I'll put it in easy terms for most consumers. 1 gallon of our paint is equal to planting one full size adult tree, as far as the equivalency of the carbon dioxide that's removed during the course of a calendar year. Um, if you're
so wait,
more,
wait, wait. Sorry. So 1 gallon of paint is equal to a full-grown tree taking carbon out of the environment for a year.
that is correct.
Fascinating. Thank you.
So basically, what that boils down to, if you are more of the scientific method inclined, so a lot of people ask about metric tons. That's how they're kind of measuring it these days, especially with a lot of cities that are producing a lot more carbon dioxide, and smog issues. Won't call anybody's municipality out. Basically, to boil it down to that, 137.5 gallons of our paint is equal to 1 MTCO2e. So that's the elimination of 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide. Obviously, metric system doesn't really translate over to most of our good folks in the United States. So for those of you who don't speak metric, it's about 2,200 pounds of carbon dioxide that's being removed per 137 gallons of our paint that is being put out on the walls.
Excellent. And it's being removed that amount per year or that amount total?
Total, total,
Total.
total.
Okay.
So
So
100.
basically you paint and then it's not a volatile organic chemicals, right? So you can paint
Correct.
in.
So our paint, while there are non-VOC paints out there that I'm sure a lot of people that are tuning into your show are aware of, being that it's earth kind and what have you. Um, we so there are paints out there that are non-VOCs, that are carbon neutral. This is very different. This is carbon negative paint. It works on a three-pronged approach. Obviously, as we've already discussed, it's absorption and elimination of CO2. The other two are it's actually VOC absorbing. So especially this day and age, with everybody sitting at home, going overboard on their cleaning products, I'm sure with the case of the world with COVID, and flu season coming back into full swing as we approach those months and what have you, and that weather. that supports the virus, the flu virus rather. A lot of people are using a lot of Lysol wipes and stuff that might not be as friendly to the body, and even some of the ones that are more friendly still have some kind of chemical that it isn't the easiest for you, for the organic body, and so our paint actually absorbs via volatile organic compound, and nullifies that the same way as it does the CO2 through the paint. And the third one, as I mentioned, which not as many people go crazy about as far as eco sustainability, but also a big thing, is actually odor absorption and negation. So it's really cool that it works on such a trifecta level with the paint. It's one of those things where it's really something where, whether it be, a lot of people, look at that side as from the home side. And of course, everybody wants to live in, a clean home, a healthy home, something that's not going to make you sick on the walls. But also, there's tons of applications that are from a commercial standpoint as well. There's been Harvard studies that have proven improving air quality, whether it be through filtration systems via paint, our paint, what have you. That it can go as far as to increase the production levels, the cognitive ability, the overall general malaise and attitude that usually you see in some employees. Actually saw a sign of approval by just helping purify the air in office spaces. So there's a multitude of applications that can be used to make everyday life honestly just better.
Awesome. And how expensive is it compared to other paints?
So our paint MSRP is $63 a gallon. Now that is comparable to the industry standard. While there are no paints that do the carbon negative, which we do, there are carbon neutral paints that are non-VOC, and those paints typically fall between $59 to $69 a gallon. So we're right there in the happy middle mark, if you will, for all that. But obviously, we have the additional benefits of the whole carbon negative. So whether you're trying to be an eco-sustainable home, whether you're trying to help contribute to carbon net zero, or whether you are somebody who is inclined on the commercial side, for example, with LEED certifications, whether there's multiple tiers with LEED certified buildings, silver, gold, platinum, what have you. And so with reducing that and utilizing our paint, that actually is going to help you achieve and gain points towards those next levels, because of the fact that you're actually removing carbon and other poison, VOCs and other poisonous things in the air. I think
Oh,
you're on mute.
very cool, very cool, very awesome. Sorry about that.
Don't worry.
So, all right. So, tell us a couple examples of stuff that you guys have done that people are excited about this product. Because I think you have some really cool test stuff out there, right?
Absolutely. So, we have a plethora of muralists and or as we call them, artivists, or art activists for those who aren't so inclined. Great group of people, guys and girls, and non-binary, that have just done amazing work, and we've showcased them. You can see some of their work on our Instagram, which is the handle at Smog Armor. Same thing on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And On top of that, though, and I know I've shared the reel with you, and it's available, for anybody who wants to see on there as well on our YouTube channel. We've actually done work with several municipalities, Miami-Dade County and Broward County school systems. With some doing some stuff on their walls with air purification. We've actually worked with Marriott hotels, which is actually how I first came to see the paint in action. Personally, I was actually there with my laptop doing some work, and the paint crew started painting over the suite behind me. And I didn't, and at that point, I had heard all of the stuff that I've told you guys on this podcast, but it hadn't been fully internalized, if you will. It was just something that was like, boom, pow, mind blowing stuff that I was hearing, but hadn't seen in action. And I realized about three-quarters of the way through them painting the room, and being somebody myself with sinus issues, I'm not wearing painter's mask or anything like that. And I'm like, whoa, guys, let me get out of here. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't smell anything. It just smells clear. There's no doors open. There's no windows open. I'm like, the two guys that were painting the room with our team are not wearing face masks, are not wearing painter's masks rather. And I'm like, wait a minute. And they're like, yeah. And it was just a mind blowing thing to me. And, and it was really how I truly got to see what our product really does firsthand. And I know I'm sidebarring here a little bit, where we finished painting that suite in the Marriott, and we went to lunch for an hour and a half just to let it paint. And we had used an independent air quality control meter to test it before we had touched anything in there. We walked in, literally turned it on, set it down, and watched the meter reading happen itself. And we went to lunch. We came back an hour and 15 minutes later. We turned back on the meter. Again, doors were closed, windows were closed, nobody was in there. It had taken, basically, it had reduced the VOC and carbon dioxide levels 95.3% in just an
Wow.
hour of its
Wow.
application from where it was before any. Now, again, we tested it before 6 people were in the room, so I don't want anybody to think there were some fudged numbers and what have you. It took it from there to there in an hour and 15 minutes, which is what it took basically the paint to dry and start its absorption process.
Awesome.
So that was the mind-blowing thing. But as I was mentioning, Marriott, we've actually done work with the NFL. We were actually featured before this past year's Super Bowl, in conjunction with them and the Boys and Girls Club. Um, we actually got to work with the 32 recipients of the Walter, or nominees, I should say, of the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, which is what they do for the players that are engaging in community service, doing something to better the world or their community around them. And in that video himself, whether you love him or hate him, is Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, as well, sitting there painting walls with our team and with the other players that were nominated from the awards. So it was just a great thing to see, so many different, companies, so many different organizations come together and really uniting on, a great message.
Yeah, really incredible, man. Really awesome. And you guys have you have third party documentation and lab documentation on the whole all the
Absolutely.
claims and everything, right? So it's like, yeah,
Absolutely. Everything we've done, it has been third party tested. This isn't something where, so it's not something where we tested it ourselves and it's like, it does this because I say it does. And it's not one of those laboratories where it's, so I need you to give me a good review here. Here you go type of thing. It was a white label approach where it's, here's this, you don't know us, we don't know you. Honest and fair review, and to get those certifications and a lot of those things that are passing for some of the paints that are non-VOC, depending on where they allowed themselves to get tested and what have you. Um, Passing levels for that score where you can claim certain things like non-VOC and stuff like that are only in about the 5 to 6 out of 10 range when they're actually going through the testing. So not that impressive at the end of the day. And our goal when we went into it with the mindset was we were hoping for about 8.5 or better. Because just like I said, I think based on everything I know about our competitors, if you will, or people that are doing stuff close to us, all fall around in the mid sevens, late upper sevens range. Um, and we all hit an immense amount of pride when we got all of our lab reports back, and everything that it tested was in the 9.3 to 9.8 range.
nice.
So not only did it blow our expectations away, but it blew the industry standard away, if you will, for what a lot of these other companies, even the big name brands that are doing non-VOC paints, are doing. So that was really something that we all are extremely proud about over here.
Cool. And how do people get these paints now?
So right now it's available on smogarmor.com. So typically, anybody who's consumer based, if you're buying from your home, whatnot, feel free to go through there. Obviously, you are more than welcome to email me with any questions. I'm sure Ron will throw my information up, in conjunction with the podcast. So you're more than happy to answer any additional questions that you might have or work with you. And then our we have an awesome solution specialist team that deals with our corporate entities and companies that are reaching out to them. So anybody who is looking from the commercial side or has runs a business, what have you, that they want to get it in, you can feel free to reach out to me, and either I'll work with you directly, or you will be handled by one of our solution specialist experts that'll be taking care of you.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right. So we like to ask for what might be one kind of tool, tactic, thing that you think that people should know about that they don't. We call them supernovas, these big ideas that people really should be aware of. A lot of people don't know about. Anything you'd like to suggest?
Um, we're talking about in general now, right?
Yeah, whatever you, I mean, along your lines. I mean, I would say that, this carbon emitting, carbon sucking, carbon capture paint is pretty amazing myself. But maybe there's something else. So,
Well, I mean, and so I know we've discussed that the whole thing, and I know I mentioned earlier that there are some other things on the horizon. I can actually share a couple of those. I made sure to have a quick discussion yesterday about that. We actually were able to develop an EMF blocking paint for those concerned with electromagnetic field and electromagnetic radiation. As a lot more cellular towers go up, as a lot more technology gets built up, server rooms, and what have you. We actually have paint that is blocking from those radiation waves and those fields escaping from those areas, or from getting in, if from to wherever your domicile is, or your business is. Now, because of its properties, it pretty much just comes in a very deep black color. So if you're looking for some pretty colors on that, not going to happen. But as anybody who's ever been in a server room knows, most of them are very dark and dreary anyway. So it's one of those things where it won't interfere. But we're actually working. Um, I don't want to get into too much detail, because it's something that massive that we're working on right now. But it is a solar powered direct air capture machine. So we are working on other innovative ways to do carbon capture, and continue to, cleaning up our air quality, and helping the planet ultimately, long term. So those are a few other things. Just wanted to correct, if you will, if, a little bit, since I know we've consistently talked about the paint. As far as tactics, um, I tell everybody, the best thing that you have, the best thing that you have to offer is yourself. Don't pitch somebody. Don't come off pitchy. I can't tell you how many LinkedIn messages I get from people I have never met, and add me, and I'm all about networking. So anybody who's seeing this, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I love networking. I love chatting with new people. It's how me and Ron ended up meeting ultimately. But it's one of those things where they'll add me, and then they'll be like, I have this great proprietary software that does an analysis of what you guys need in sales. And I'm like, you don't know me. You haven't asked any question about what my process is over here. You don't know if I just purchased a system. What do you like? You didn't bother to say hi. You're not bothering to network with me, which is what the purpose of LinkedIn is. Newsflash, everybody. It's not just corporate Facebook. The real question is as simple as this: when you're approaching a networking group, when you're approaching anything that matches you one on one, which is how, like I mentioned, Ron and I met, or even messaging me, being a stranger on LinkedIn, it's simple as this. My first question is always the same thing: how do you see us working together? Because that's the honest answer.
yeah.
Now, it might be an answer where it's like, look, I have that might be your segue. Hey, I have a product that I think might be able to benefit you. Cool. I might be looking for that right now. I might not. You're going to ask me, how do you see us working together? Well, there's a multitude of things. One, do you have a company? Do you have a household? Those are things that I'd love to get, be able to create some kind of deal, and have our flagship product, our paint, getting into. Are you somebody that maybe has a lot of contacts with co-op boards, if you're in cities like New York, or real estate firms, or architects, or design people, or people that do construction, GCs? Those are great people that what consistently want to grab paint. And if we're doing something where they're consistently painting, 10 to 30-story buildings, or even, 3-floor apartment complexes. At the end of the day, there's still a healthier paint that's going onto those walls that's going to help not just the environment, especially if they're painting outdoors, because again, they're basically painting a forest, if you will. But it's also going to help people indoors with sickness and health, and their breathing capabilities overall. So, that's the biggest, I guess, tip I'll give, if you will, is don't always be on the hunt for what you are looking for. Turn the tables and see what the capabilities are of working together with somebody else. Not everything requires an off the bat pitch. And if that's the person you are, please stop adding me on LinkedIn.
So that's not what you can do for me, but what I can do for you,
Right. Yeah. I
eh?
mean, again, it just gets stressful. Like I said, I love networking. I've been blessed with the gift of gab, if you will. So I love having great conversations with people, and continuing relationships and what have you. And so it becomes frustrating when somebody adds me, and then I'm like, hey, sure, glad to meet you. Looking forward to conversing. And then it's like, hey, we developed this great sales, proprietary software that your sales team should totally integrate into all their things. Click my Calendly for a 30-minute consultation. I'm like, nope, next. Eh, Trust me, I understand it, being that, ultimately, I manage a sales team, or a solution specialist team with us and everything. But I'll give you a perfect example. It's why we call our team solution specialist as opposed to our sales team. And it is because it is a two-part thing that is literally in their title. They are specialists that we have trained and given the proper information and ability to convey that information over to you, and they are offering you a solution. They are not selling you on anything. They are offering you a solution to air quality in your home. They are offering you a solution to the air quality outdoors. They are offering you a solution to the air quality in your office space. And they are offering a solution to air pollution in general.
Awesome. So, a lot of people, most of us, have come through sometimes tough times, and in those toughest times, we learn some things that kind of change our life. So, if you would care to share, Adam, your worst kind of moment in business or clean sustainability or anything else, and what did you learn from it, or how did it change your perspective on things?
Oof. Um, wow, it's a tough question. I can't say that I've had any bad moments at this point in green sustainability. It's been great. I mean, we all run into the typical things, especially when we're trying to talk to bigger companies. And as the VP of innovation, I do a lot of stuff with some of the bigger companies that are interacting with us. And sometimes there's always a unwilling receptionist, uh, or gatekeeper, as a lot of people like to call them, that don't want to let you through. So, but tough times, man. You know, I'll be candid. I'm 37 years old, and despite being, as some people want to put it, very young, some people want to put it, creep in there. I've been able to muster up, as I mentioned, at this point, I've been working in some capacity or another for 22 years. I started working when I was 15 years old, and I was working at a friend's mom's printing press place, putting together corporate guidebooks, if you will. So full circle as we come. And it's one of those things that over the years, sometimes I've made switches voluntarily. Sometimes there was downsizing. Sometimes it was me seeing writing on the wall and just being like, this, on what a company was going to be doing, and being like, I don't want to be any part of this. I'm out. Um, Ultimately, I'll give everybody the same advice that I give my mother. um, she always asks, how am I always able to stay so calm? How am I always able to just kind of put a smile on my face and just kind of roll with the good, the bad, and the ugly, as we all like to say? And the best advice that I can give anybody that's applicable, whether it be your personal life, your work life, the, the environment, politics, since that's been obviously a hot button for the last couple of years, and that's all I'm going to say there. Is this: remember, there are certain things in the world and in your life in particular that you can control. There's a ton of stuff that no matter what you do, no matter your action, no matter what you say, it's going to happen the way it happens. You don't have the ability to control, affect, or do anything about it. So remember to take a deep breath, relax, control what you can control, but don't let the little things pile up, because the things that you should worry about truly in life have probably never crossed your worried mind.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So, would you say your aha moment was when you realized this about Smog Armor, or is there other aha moments in your career that enlightened you?
Um, there's a lot of aha moments. um, there's been a lot of aha moments, depending on, where I was in my career, what I was doing and whatnot. Whether it be, just learning business in general, furthering education by being hands-on about it, if you will. Um, learning how to treat people, seeing what cold and callousness could happen in the corporate infrastructure world over the years. So seeing, knowing how I want to be treated, and seeing how I should be treating other people based on really bad examples of what not to do with, as a manager, as staff, and what have you.
Want to give it
Um,
an example?
so as I mentioned the earlier, the the grandmother thing, or the grand it was a grandmother, whatnot. It was that happened 12 years ago. Uh, I was a one of five B2B sales managers for a company that no longer exists. So not going to name them; they don't deserve any popularity. But they a one of the sales guys, the B2B sales guys, grandmother passed away. It's about 11:30, 11:45, and the response from his team lead was, "You don't have any PTO, so I can't do anything for you. You're stuck till 5." Um, I was always the one that went till later lunch. I usually like to go to lunch around 1:30 after the rush is gone, and eat in peace and solitude instead of 30, everybody who's emptying their offices at the same time. And yeah, I was the only, manager sitting there, and everybody's gone to lunch, pretty much on the sales floor. And I see him at his desk, and one thing I've never had a problem with, even in, as a youth, is empathy. I've always been a very empathetic human being, and have the ability, if I hadn't experienced it myself, to at least understand what somebody is going through. And so I saw the overall just brokenheartedness meets absolute disgust, for what had just transpired and everything else, on this gentleman's face. And I walked over and I said, "You want to know what? I'll take the tongue lashing from, our the manager's superior, if you will, the director of B2B. I'll take the tongue lashing. I'll take the, destruction, if you will. Um, grab your stuff and get out of here." And I'll never forget, like, stopped crying, looked at me extremely wide eyed, and I mean, at this point, I'm maybe 4 years older than him, if that. And thanked me a million times over. And there were three other people that were in, I get, 20-foot vicinity that heard me do that. Thing is, anytime I have moved on from a company, just because I was looking for growth potential, I was looking for something new to, divert myself into something new that I was interested in, or something that caught my eye. all four of those gentlemen, including the gentleman whose grandmother unfortunately had passed, actually always, anytime I change my title on LinkedIn, if you will, message me probably within about 72 hours and say, "Let me know if you have any room on what you're building out or what your team is. I would follow you anywhere." And so that is kind of the deeply heartening thing that happens to me consistently. And the four of you know who you are. Thank you guys for always wanting to follow me everywhere, even if I can't get you in certain places. But just the fact that I was able to, do the right thing ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, but that not just that, but the way I manage and the way that I try to do things in general have built that rapport and that relationship to the point where people want to follow me. When I've moved on in previous years was just uh, truly a different level of self enlightening, if you will.
Cool. Awesome. All right, going to enter the Pulsar round, where we ask you for short, succinct, amazing, and mind blowing answers to these questions. Are you ready, sir?
Shoot, let's go.
All right, great. So, what's the best advice you've ever received, Adam?
Ooh. um, Best advice that I've ever received was be yourself. And if somebody doesn't like you for being yourself, I'll say screw them because the language was a little bit different that was that was said to me, but screw them.
Okay, great. So, be yourself. Always be yourself. That's absolutely wonderful advice because you can't be anybody else anyway. So, you may as well just be
Absolutely.
yourself, right? So, awesome. Fantastic. All right. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success, please.
Um, I guess as forementioned, um, just the I'll call it conscientious thinking, if you will, where, as I mentioned before, just be aware that you can't control everything in the world. Take that deep breath, relax, and just make sure that you understand, control what you can control. Don't stress yourself out and drive yourself nuts over every little thing that you can't control. Don't build the mountain. Don't make the molehills into mountains. Otherwise it'll drown you eventually. And I've hit those levels where I've crashed and burned in the past, and I've stressed myself out. And it took me a long time to kind of bring myself full circle. And it's honestly paid extreme dividends, honestly, at this point.
Awesome. Great. Have a an internet resource that you'd like to share that you think people might want to be aware of.
An internet resource. Like anything specific or
Anything, no, anything that you think that that people like, that you find that's really helpful that's on the internet that people should know about.
um I mean, as I mentioned, I'm landscape changes every day, especially with this COVID thing going on. Um Honestly, I'm a huge proponent of networking, so I use that as a huge resource for a lot of the conversations that I have and a lot of things that I do in my position with Smog Armor, and personally as well. So I mean, utilize like as I mentioned before, utilize LinkedIn the right way. Check out things like Lunch Club is a great tool. A lot of eco sustainable minds are on there, and it's a one-on-one meeting platform. If you're doing the multi-level marketing thing, please don't go on there. Yeah, for people that are doing for people that are just looking for networking in general, nothing specific. There's things like what is the title of it? Give me one second. It is the Happy Networking Project. Check out the Happy Networking Project. It started out of necessity because of COVID, and they've boom, they have a meeting in different municipalities in different areas. So if you're anywhere in North America, Canada, yes, that means you too. You can feel free to check them out. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot
Great.
of great networking things that I would say to go ahead and utilize.
Awesome. All right. If you had a magic wand that could change one thing for everybody in the world, what would it be?
That's hard because I have a selfish answer and I have an unselfish answer. um,
Everybody in the world, so I guess it's the unselfish answer.
the,
Or maybe
the,
it's not. I don't know. Go ahead.
the unselfish answer to change everything in the world is that we eliminate sickness and disease. Obviously, COVID is a hot button thing right now, and at this point, it's killed a lot of people that it shouldn't have. And whether you agree with the way it's been handled or not is not what I'm getting into. But just the elimination of it overall in general, and the ability to have so many of those lives worldwide that were taken, many taken before, or majority taken before their time. um, it would be nice to negate. Obviously, my selfish answer would be I'd love our paint to be on every wall on every building in the world, uh, because at that point, not only is it boding well for us, and just so anybody who wonders, we are actually a certified B corporation, which means that we are in that weird malaise between being a 501c3 non-for-profit organization and being a structured corporation. That being said, though, we are also 1% for the planet. So the better that we do in business, we actually are able to donate more, as we give 1% of our total gross profit to other 501c3s that are for us, particularly in the realm of eco sustainability or green sustainability, from a worldwide contingency standpoint. So obviously, I have, selfish answer would what I want to see, a success, and that's not me trying to be like, oh, I want to be a millionaire, a billionaire, anything like that. I don't need all that. I'm happy living comfortably, but it's one of those things I'd love to see. Just the having that paint everywhere would ultimately be a massive HEPA filter, if you will, cast over the world in a major way, and especially in cities that are suffering from air quality stuff like Mumbai in India, Taiwan, Beijing, Los Angeles, New York, and so on and so forth. It would be amazing to just see that overall quality improve on a global scale, and really see and give the ability of healthy living to everybody, that is still with us. I think you're on mute still.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. Awesome. So I don't know if you have one of these, but an extreme weather event that we call it WTF or F, weather time fudge, an extreme weather event that you lived through, and tell us the tale, or weather time fun, the most fun you ever had, and the type of weather it was.
um I mean, I feel like that's the obvious one.
It's okay to be obvious. Tell us
Uh,
weather. Good.
so being a native Miamian, I actually was one of the few, the proud, that's still down here as well, that lived through Hurricane Andrew. So I experienced, before climate change made all these superstorms that have popped up the last couple years. I lived through, back in 1992, so I would have been 9 years old. What was considered the most devastating storm in U.S. history. Obviously, I'm very well aware of Hurricane Katrina and the damage it has done, and still lingering effects over in the Louisiana and Bayou area. And New Orleans, in particular, and definitely seeing that same level. I grew up in a southwest suburb called Kendall down in Miami, and about I'd say about maybe 20 miles or less, probably not even 20 miles, probably more like about 15 miles south of us, was actually where the eye passed through straight through the state. So I was right there on the north side of the wall the whole time. Um, and the fun part about that is I'll never forget. Around around 2 in the morning was when it really started howling, and the power, the cable had gone out, so we, couldn't watch TV or entertain ourselves anymore. This didn't exist anymore for you youngins. We I
Before
think
that time.
not even the phones with Snake existed at that time. I think my dad had one of those brick cellular phones, the old school. If you've ever seen the old Saved by the Bell episodes, the old Zach Morris phone, if you will. And I remember, I remember going and laying down in a sleeping bag at the foot of my parents' bed. We had all had another family that we were friends with that had come over to us because they were in an evacuation zone and we're further inland. And I remember I grabbed I had a beautiful husky, a shepherd wolf mix named Bandit that I grew up with, and she she did not like the weather, and so she jumped into the sleeping bag with me, and from about 3 a.m. until about 9 a.m., me and Bandit proceeded to scare ourselves to sleep. So while everybody else lived through the horror that is Hurricane Andrew, I was lucky enough to just cuddle up with my dog, close my eyes as a kid, and pass out. Uh, Woke up super, super, you call it lucky, call it blessed, whatnot. There was, shingle damage obviously to the house, so the roof needed to be repaired. The fences went down. There was some leaking in my room, so it ended up saturating the carpet, so my carpet got torn out and had to be replaced. But that was pretty much the extent of the damage that was um, extended to my family house, and my family, and well, and Bandit got out because all the fences had blown down, and we had to let her out, and she had ended up getting her leg stuck between two fence boards, ended up breaking her leg, unfortunately. So, fixing the house and a vet bill was pretty much the worst of it that we had to suffer through. We were extremely lucky, but and probably if I hadn't scared myself to sleep and cuddled up with my dog back in 1992, I'd probably have some horrific memories every time I hear a wind blowing or anything like that. As we ended up coming to find out, there was something close to about 8 to 9 tornadoes that were within a 3 mile or less range, I think they said, of where I live. So, really, really lucky on the escape there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean that's the thing with climate disruption is we're going to get and we are getting more and more frequent and more extreme weather events, and we like to have this part of the story just to share that people aren't alone out there. This is happening. It's real, and we need to take the steps to deal with it. And so cool that you've got this carbon absorbing paint now that we can use in our homes and elsewhere to take some of that carbon out of the atmosphere for a change, which is fantastic. So awesome. All right,
Absolutely.
Adam, what's one thing you're most energized about today?
Um, I think I'm most energized. I'm extremely energized. I mean, from a personal work standpoint, I'm extremely energized. While as we mentioned, the paint is kind of the flagship product, and we have stuff like the EMF blocking paint and the solar powered direct air capture machine and other things coming into fruition. Which sorry, not going to tell you guys just yet. We have something close to about 30. We have about 30 and change, about 32, 33 patents on stuff that we're already developing. So there's a lot of stuff on the horizon that we're already working on and developing to try to make the Earth in general a safer and healthier place for all of us to live, but also for it to be able to mend, help contribute to mending and making it a better situation for all of us. And that's really that from that personal professional, or from a personal level. uh, Stock market. I pretty much here in my home office. I have I have three TVs over here mounted, and what I do is I have ESPN running on one of them because I'm a sports guy. The other one is usually on kind of cycling through a few different news sources. And then the other one is usually just the ticker running, either Bloomberg or one of the other ones that's running a ticker all the time, just so I can see what's going on. So I've been getting a little bit more inundated and heavier into that, as as obviously the political climate has shifted again, post election, and things are moving forward. I know the House just passed the marijuana bill, to go over to the Senate. So a lot of different things that are going on that are shifting around, both the climate and the financial climate, if you will, of the world.
Cool. All right. Piece of parting advice and guidance, and the best way people can contact you if you'd like them to.
Sure. Piece of parting advice or guidance. Parting advice or guidance. As I mentioned earlier, in the conversation, I'm 37 years old. Uh, I promise you, if you're 18, you don't need to have it figured out. If you're younger than 18, you don't need to have it figured out. If you're in your early 20s, you don't have to have it figured out. If you're in your late 20s, you don't have to have it figured out. If you are in your early 30s, you don't have to have it figured out. If you're my age, you don't have to have it figured out. If you're in your 40s, you don't have to have it figured out. Look at every piece of the more well-known successful people, from people like Oprah, even people like famous newscasters like Dan Rather, people Einstein was a patent clerk. Look at just the history. Look at Bill Gates. Look at Steve Jobs. Look at you know I could go on and on, but look at the most successful people that everybody likes to make a big deal and an example out of. You don't have to measure up to those people. I promise you. Your own success is not dictated by, did you start a giant, billion-dollar corporation? Do you yourself have billions in the bank or millions in the bank? That's not going to be what buys you happiness. Because I promise you, coming from someone who has reached very good upper echelons in consumer electronics, money does not buy happiness. That is a cold, hard fact. It makes things easier, 100%, but it will not make you happy. So, I guess a two-pronged advice. One, this ain't gonna solve all your problems and make you happy. But the other thing is, it is never too late to repivot, look at what's around you, and figure out what you really want to do. Find something that you really want to do, something that makes you happy to wake up in the morning, something that you are passionate about. And even if you're not passionate about it, something that just you can sit there and go, you want to know what? This just makes sense to me. I really enjoy this. I am not a science background guy, and here I am working at a carbon technology company, and the last 9 months, 10 months has been me burying my face in scientific journals and reading up on carbon tech industry, innovation, reading up on what's happening on the environmental studies from various organizations from throughout the world, that that are giving their point of view from scientific data, and learning what it means to actually read that data, and kind of force myself to understand it, if you will, being like I said, not a child of science at all. So it's never too late to learn something. It's never too late to dive headfirst into something new, no matter how old or how young you are. You don't have to have it figured out at the end of the day.
Cool. Best way for people to contact you.
Sure. You can feel free to email me. My email is adam@smogarmor.com. Pretty simple, straightforward. Feel free to hunt me down on LinkedIn. Just don't pitch me anything right off the bat. And you can do that. You can find me at Lord Adam Huss on LinkedIn. That is my official LinkedIn name. So you can find me as Lord Adam Huss on LinkedIn. And of course, like as I mentioned before, please feel free to engage with us via smogarmor.com, Smog Armor on Facebook, and at Smog Armor on Instagram as well, and LinkedIn, actually. And always happy to engage if you're interested in more information about what we do, our products, or some of the work we've already done. Feel free to reach out to me directly. Feel free to engage with us on social media. More than happy. Feel free to search for us on YouTube, and you'll see several videos that we've posted there over the last couple months, with some of our new and exciting stuff, and plenty more to come in the future.
Awesome. Lord Adam Huss, thank you so much for your time and wisdom and sharing your story today. Really appreciate it, man.
It was my pleasure, Ron. Thank you so much for having me. It was awesome getting to chat about what we do, and you know, Earth. Thank you, with you and the Earthkind Energy Consulting brand and Earthkind Energy podcast. Definitely, everybody. Keep your eyes on this man. He's giving you guys the right people in front of you, and I'm not giving myself a pat on the shoulder to help guide you in the right direction and everything like that. So, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure here.
Yeah, same here, Adam. All right, man. Thank you very much.